Chuck Berry, the guitar-slinging pioneer who ignited rock and roll's rebellious spirit, remains a figure etched as much in controversy as in musical legacy. Berry, whose distinctive riffs shaped the soundscape of modern music, was equally known for volatile interactions with his contemporaries and musical disciples, including prominent figures such as Keith Richards, John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen, and the Beach Boys. Keith Richards, the legendary guitarist of the Rolling Stones, publicly acknowledged the complexities of his relationship with Berry. "Chuck Berry was harder to work with than Mick Jagger," Richards famously remarked. Their fraught relationship was punctuated by physical altercations, notably in 1981, when Berry allegedly punched Richards backstage at a New York venue after Richards inadvertently encroached on Berry's territory by playing too loudly.
But in a dressing room, he was doing a gig, he'd went off to collect the money, I think. And,
that's what it always is.
He was a tightwad, and bless you, Chuck.
Yet despite these conflicts, Richards maintained unwavering admiration for Berry's artistry. Their stormy collaboration on the documentary Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll vividly portrayed the creative tension, with Richards struggling to navigate Berry's mercurial temperaments, epitomized by frequent disagreements over who should assume the lead guitar role. In this renowned documentary, Richards grappled openly with Berry's unpredictable behavior.
I've been so disappointed in Chuck Berry's live gigs for years and years and years whenever I've seen him. Because he didn't give a damn, he just, and if he made a mistake, he'd blame it on the band,
At rehearsals, Berry would often deliberately disrupt musical cohesion, abruptly changing tempos or keys without prior warning, seemingly to test the band's adaptability. Richards described these moments as intensely frustrating, yet strangely inspiring. He later reflected that Berry was, in his eyes, a master of musical sabotage, suggesting a profound respect tinged with bewilderment at Berry's methods. Indeed, Richards' willingness to endure such challenging interactions spoke volumes about the depth of his admiration and Berry's significance to his musical identity. Berry's turbulent rapport with John Lennon and the Beatles took a distinctly legal dimension. In 1973, Lennon found himself embroiled in a copyright infringement lawsuit initiated by music publisher Morris Levy, who argued that Lennon's Come Together borrowed heavily from Berry's 1956 classic You Can't Catch Me. Lennon conceded, agreeing to record tracks from Levy's catalogue. This settlement led directly to Lennon's rock and roll album, though further disputes ensued regarding its release. The situation encapsulated a broader tension rooted in Berry's protective stance toward his music and legacy. The complexity of Lennon's situation was compounded by his personal admiration for Berry, whose music deeply influenced the Beatles. Early recordings of Lennon performing Berry's songs highlight an earnest reverence, which makes their later legal entanglements particularly ironic. The Come Together controversy exposed the thin line between homage and infringement, underscoring Berry's vigilance regarding intellectual property rights. Lennon's decision to settle the case and subsequently record Berry's song was both an acknowledgement of Berry's original genius and a pragmatic measure to resolve ongoing tensions. The saga of Bruce Springsteen's awkward encounter with Berry at the 1995 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inauguration further illustrates Berry's notoriously capricious demeanor. Springsteen, tasked with backing Berry, later recounted the unsettling unpredictability he experienced on stage. Guitarist Niels Lofgren vividly recalled Berry changing the key to rock and roll music repeatedly without warning, leaving the ensemble floundering. He changed keys 4 or 5 times, Lofgren stated, highlighting the challenging atmosphere Berry deliberately fostered. Berry concluded the performance abruptly, duck-walking off stage and leaving behind an ensemble in musical disarray. Nevertheless, Springsteen's respect for Berry's groundbreaking contributions remained intact, demonstrating Berry's complicated duality as both an influential genius and a difficult collaborator. Springsteen's reflections on Berry offered further insight into the incident, describing Berry as a puzzle of brilliance and unpredictability. Despite Springsteen's extensive experience, he found Berry's stage manner uniquely challenging, noting in interviews that Berry provided minimal instructions, expecting the musicians to intuitively follow his improvisations. Berry's reluctance to clearly communicate musical directions seemed calculated, perhaps intended to reassert his musical authority. However, Springsteen repeatedly affirmed that Berry's challenging approach also had its merits, forcing musicians to remain alert, engaged, and spontaneous, attributes Berry deemed essential for authentic rock and roll. Legal skirmishes also marked Berry's contentious dealings with the Beach Boys. The band's 1963 hit Surfin' USA notably bore more than a passing resemblance to Berry's Sweet Little 16. Berry, fiercely protective of his intellectual property, successfully pursued legal action, resulting in full credit and royalties. This incident exemplified Berry's vigilant, albeit aggressive, approach to guarding his musical integrity. Berry's insistence on protecting his work extended beyond financial compensation. According to music historians, Berry was deeply concerned with preserving his legacy and ensuring his pioneering contributions remained explicitly recognized. The Surfin' USA case is often cited as an example of the challenges musicians faced during an era when copyright laws were evolving alongside the music industry itself. Berry's successful litigation set a critical precedent for subsequent copyright disputes within popular music, reflecting his role not only as an artist, but also as a guardian of creative originality. Chuck Berry's legacy remains undeniably rich and multifaceted, his influence permeating every facet of rock music. Yet, these controversies illuminate the inherent complexities of artistic collaboration, exposing Berry as a figure who demanded not just admiration, but also deference. A musician whose extraordinary talent was matched by an equally extraordinary temperament. Berry's confrontational style was emblematic of his broader character, a fiercely independent artist unwilling to compromise on his artistic principles or musical standards. Indeed, Berry's temperament often overshadowed his immense contributions to rock music. Friends, collaborators, and critics alike acknowledged the paradoxical nature of his interactions, simultaneously magnetic and repellent, generous, yet selfish, inspiring, yet frustrating. Berry's contradictions were perhaps an essential part of his genius, fueling his creativity while complicating his personal and professional relationships. The enduring narratives around Berry highlight an artist whose influence was matched only by the drama he frequently generated, securing his place not just in music history, but in the broader cultural imagination. Ultimately, Chuck Berry remains a complex figure, his legacy defined by groundbreaking innovation, compelling contradictions, and enduring controversy. His life and career remind us that great artistry often comes with profound tensions, a lesson Berry seemed determined to teach, intentionally or not, to all those who followed.